Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Soccer Edition. This is your host, Mitch. I'm here as always with Mateus. Hi, Mateus. How are you?
Feeling conflicted. I mean, we'll talk about our little friendly game.
Yeah, you've just two sides of you that are like constantly.
Two wolves.
Yeah, it's an everlong fight. You're gonna experience again in the Copa America quarterfinals.
How do you even live? How do you?
It's not gonna go your way. Also here with us is Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. As I sit here, I realize that my cat peed where somewhere he shouldn't have peed in this room, and it's
So you're
something
just gonna
I'm
be
gonna
like,
have to deal with during this recording. So you know,
what
keep
I'm
that in mind.
understanding is that you're coming up with excuses before we even get into the show.
Excuses.
Like, if I have a bad performance today, it's because I was smelling cat pee the entire time.
I don't think that's going to affect my performance. It's just something that as I sat down at my desk, I was like, what the fuck?
All right, well,
so anyway.
If you're listening, if you're watching, keep an eye on that. Maybe during the YouTube edition, you're gonna like Mateus is gonna be talking about Julian Carranza, and Emily's just gonna be like smelling cat pee, and you see it in her face.
It is quite vital.
Resolve, please sponsor us. Any carpet cleaning companies, please go
luckily
ahead.
There's no carpet, but it's yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, best of luck to you for the rest of this hour that you have to deal with that.
Thanks.
Let's get into it in talking about a U.S. men's national team friendly that feels like happened a long time ago, and it's because it was a whole week ago. We recorded the day of this game happening, right? Last week?
No, the day before.
Whatever. We recorded like a week ago. And the U.S. played Brazil in a friendly that I can't say we were optimistic about after the Colombia game that we talked extensively about last week. But the U.S. actually played pretty well and got a result in this game, a 1-1 draw, which, at least for me, I mean, and take this with a grain of salt because I'm ever the optimist, but it fills me with a lot of optimism going into Copa America. Like, if we got slapped in both of our friendly games leading up to this tournament against two teams that we could potentially play in the quarterfinals of this tournament if we make another group, I wouldn't be feeling very confident. I would not be very excited. But now I can't wait to go to Dallas next weekend and go watch the U.S. against Bolivia. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch Joe Scally play for my country because he's that guy. Mateus, I'm going to throw to you about this very conflicting game that you got to watch.
Yeah, well, I think first things first. It was a friendly, right? But let's dispel any of the arguments here. I said this a little bit on the Scuff Live show. Brazil played hard. They played hard. They didn't roll over. This wasn't like a... They were about as upset as that driver next to Emily's house. And like, no, like they played angry to a certain extent, or at least as angry as they would be outside of like an actual World Cup game. Damn straight, I know that. But the US like defended well, defended solidly. At times they were compacted all the way back. And they gave up the goal early, right? But they had chances as well. Obviously Musa rifled one off the crossbar in the first minute. Also in I think it was like the 65th or 67th minute when Pulisic had a wide open shot and Allison had to save the day there for Brazil. And despite all the pressure that Brazil put on the US towards the end of the game, it was because they had four wingers on and were going balls to the wall, trying to get a goal back. So wonderful performance. It got a lot of traction in Brazilian media. Ronaldinho is like, I'm not watching the team anymore. Fuck this. Everything's over. All the panic we were having after Colombia, Brazil was having after us. So the USMNT did that to Brazil. That's a badge of honor.
That's because they don't respect us, you know. That's why.
I mean,
yes.
Greg Ronaldinho is experiencing something that a lot of people have experienced under Greg Berhalter, which is just, I don't know if I like the sport anymore. It kind of sucks.
Well, it was funny because he's like, we lack creativity, we lack guts. I'm not watching this team anymore. And then Rafinha leaked some text between Ronaldinho and Vinicius Jr. asking for tickets. So swings and roundabouts.
That's the most like real thing that I've seen Ronaldinho do ever, because most of the time he's just like rich famous person that's like doing a bunch of like going to jail and playing soccer in jail. But this is him just like being over dramatic online because his team had a bad result, and that's the realest thing that Ronaldinho has ever done. We've all been there.
That's relatable. I relate to him in that.
Relatable for sure.
Relatable king.
But yeah, no, I think everyone in this team, at least in the starting 11 here, had a good performance, except maybe Pepe was a bit invisible. Tim Ream had some moments. Tim Ream got shouted out in Brazilian media too.
Tim Ream was fully back in this game. Like the Colombia game, he looked 38. And then this one, he looked 26. This is Tim Ream fully back. Stay in the Premier League, my friend. You can still do it at Fulham. You don't need to go to Charlotte quite yet. The Colombia game looks like he needs to come to MLS. The Brazil game looks like he could sign for Man City. Like, he could do what Pep wanted. It said, if you're 10 years younger, I would sign you.
Maybe get some like cortisol shots.
Get his knees lubricated before the game. I also want to give a shout out to Shaq Moore. He played 10 minutes and he got Vinicius Junior's jersey.
I was like, why is he coming on? You know,
he has to show that he can defend about 80% as good as Scally.
Yeah, I can't believe that Shaq Moore even got into the game. And the fact that he even played is fucking wild to me. That in itself is nuts. He wasn't great in that 10 minutes, which is to be expected. He's an average MLS fullback going up against Vinicius Jr.
He's the glue guy. He's the glue guy. Respect the glue guy.
If he's the glue guy, great.
Glued to the bench.
Don't play. Fine.
Zing.
But I honestly, genuinely, the audacity to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go ask for Vinny's jersey, crazy to me. Like, dude, you're Shaq Moore. What are we doing?
Vinny doesn't know that. They both played.
He thought he was related to Shaq. I think that's what happened. As in Shaquille O'Neal, obviously.
Yeah.
Duh.
I think it's, they both, they play in Spain. They played in Spain.
Do you think he knew who he was together?
I don't
know.
Dude, like Shaq Moore played like maybe 4 appearances in La Liga. Like he mostly played in the second division in Spain. Like the likelihood that they even crossed paths is slim to none.
I gotta look this up in FPRF later. We'll see if they had like 10 minutes against each other in the Copa del Rey.
If that's the case, I will hold my hands up and be like, all right, Shaq Moore, you've played against him, fair enough.
But
like
but no, this is not, they don't know each other. They're not Instagram followers.
No way. But you're very hesitant about Joe Scally in general. So I want to ask your opinion about Joe Scally after what was a very, very impressive performance. Other than like one moment I can think of where he got nutmegged, but like we had a defender behind him to like stop it. He locked that shit down. What did you think, Mateus?
Yeah, like Joe Scally's questions have never been really about his athleticism or even really his defense, although for the USMNT he had been burned a few times. But it was really his ball progression. During the season when Mönchengladbach, there were whole games where they would not pass Joe Scally the ball on his side of the field. Just would not, because he didn't know what to do. He would just stall it and he wouldn't progress the ball any further up the field. Wouldn't dribble with it, would just stay there and pass it back to the center back. In this game, he showed that he can take the ball forward and run it really aggressively and do not Serginho Dest things, but combine and be an attacking presence on the field from the right back spot. And I think that allowed him to gain confidence and do all that stuff that he used to do as a teenager, really, is why he got into the Bundesliga anyways, from kind of like 30 minutes NYCFC and shipped over there. I just think it was a big confidence boost for him just to put on that shirt and be the guy and just do what he can do, right? I think that was the crux of it. And after that, that kind of supplements his defending and his whole game. But him getting nutmegged, like that's going to happen once a game with Vinicius Jr. That's going to happen once a game with Rodrigo. Maybe even 5 times a game. Like I wouldn't even he could get nutmegged all day. I wouldn't really blame him. But strong off the ball, using his body really well. I have gone from extremely fearful of having just a dud at right back to pretty comfortable. Like he looks like a Bundesliga player, which I don't think I would have said, at least in the US jersey, a month ago.
Yeah, I think it's really encouraging going into Copa that I feel confident about that position, because obviously going into these friendlies there was a lot of question marks of what we were gonna do without Dest. And now that I feel like there's a clear number one option and what we're going to do, and there's no experimenting that we're gonna be doing unless bar injury. We're not seeing Tyler Adams there, we're not seeing Tim Weah there, and that's okay with me. Joe Scally has played well enough where I'm very comfortable with him playing right back for the national team.
I also want to shout out real quick Musa, who I've been upset with at various times. I'm not going to say he's still going to be this great connector passing the ball, but he does not care who he's playing against. He will dribble out of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that at least 3 or 4 times where he just took it on the half turn, ran it up the gut, and looked really confident doing so. So I get to give him props for that. His performance was a lot better than it was a couple months ago. Again, probably not someone I want starting at the 6, but I'm pretty comfortable with him, or a lot more comfortable with him playing that position against really good teams, especially that they're going to press, because that's where he shines, is turning out of pressure. So props to him there.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to hold it down in a game like this, that was something I was keeping my eye on, because he's someone that I love. Yunus Musa. I think he's immensely talented. I don't know if I totally see him as a 6 yet. I think there's been a lot of positives to take from his appearances as a 6 for the national team, but I do think that he is probably better off as an 8. But I am by no means concerned if he has to play there, but I think we have some really quality options where we don't need to play him there, which is good. Another player that I thought had a really great bounce back game, like Tim Ream from the Colombia game, was Matt Turner. And I think that the two of them, I think I can point to these friendlies being really vital for, just in terms of shaking rust off. Ream didn't play for a lot of the back half of the season, mostly because of injury. And then once he came back from injury, Fulham had a pretty consistent center back pairing. And then Matt Turner obviously lost his starting spot at Nottingham Forest. So they're both players without significant game time. And I think it really showed against Colombia. And then in the Brazil game, I think the rust was fully off, and now they look ready to go. Which is exactly the spot we need them to be, because we can't the biggest positive I can say from the Brazil friendly is that a lot of these positions have been fully locked down, and we don't have question marks going into the Bolivia game this weekend about certain key positions. I can confidently say what the backline and goalkeeper will be for the national team on Saturday. I can confidently say what the starting attack will be. The midfield is the only question, but I feel that's probably just the deepest part of the team, where there's just a lot of really quality options. But Matt Turner was phenomenal against Brazil. It was great to have him playing like that again. It was the most saves a U.S. goalkeeper has made in a game since the famous Tim Howard Belgium game, which obviously isn't a great stat if you put it it's a good stat for Matt Turner. It's not a great stat for our defense, conceding that amount of shots. But the context is we're playing against Brazil. They are a better team than us, and we managed to get a result like this with a barrage attacking us.
The best stat is that we tied Brazil 1-1, and they would have gotten the penalties if it was a real game.
Exactly.
That's the bet. Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to look at it. We would have played Brazil to a penalty kick shootout, which is sick.
Which, if it we were talking about context last week of with Copa America, and if context U.S. goes out in the quarterfinals of the Copa America against Brazil in penalties, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Like, it's gonna hurt, but like that's like a decent result and like decent context in going out. One last thing before we move on to NWSL, I do want to shout out Christian Pulisic's goal, because that like near post on a free kick was fucking awesome.
I knew he was
nice.
scoring that. I knew he was scoring that. Like, it wasn't even a question, because it was just like roll it on the ground. The ball was in a weird place, and we have a set piece coach for that reason. That's why we had, was it Weah and Musa flaring out left away from the ball? That's like sick. That's a nice routine.
Yeah, a lot of positives to take into the game this weekend. I'm very excited to watch the team live for the first time at AT&T. And hopefully we win Copa America. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Let's get into NWSL before we get into the game. We want to talk real quick about some ref stuff, because that's always fun. Because we're not talking about the Portland Thorns this week, but Sophia Smith's trying to hide the ball that we talked about last weekend got a little bit interesting with the appeal process.
Interesting.
What happened with this, Emily?
Yeah, let me read for you what the independent review panel said. They've unanimously denied the appeal and determined the appeal was frivolous, and because of this, the following disciplinary actions apply. 1, Portland will forfeit its bond. I don't know what the fuck that means. 2, Portland loses the right to appeal any other decisions for the remainder of the current season and the following season.
Jesus Christ.
Not just this year, but next year. That includes the playoffs for both seasons. And then this second part, which, the suspension and fine related to this appeal was doubled. Therefore, Smith is issued a 2-game suspension and increased fine. The Players Association fought this and was like, no, fuck this. So Sophia Smith is not suspended for this game this weekend. But, like, I don't understand the absolute, like, I don't know, punitive nature of this.
Okay. To be fair, for 1 second, crazy thing to appeal.
Yeah, I wouldn't have appealed this.
Like, insane decision by Portland to appeal it, but even insaner decision to punish them with all this.
And a question that was thrown on Twitter is like, and also, why would you be punishing the player for the club appealing on their behalf? Like, especially with a fine on, if this wasn't Sophia Smith, talk about like a normal like player's salary. Like,
I don't know how it is in the NWSL, but I'm pretty sure like Premier League clubs just like blanket appeal any suspension. They like to just,
it makes sense to this one. I don't really see how you're gonna get this one off, but it does make sense to just appeal. But like when appeals are turned over, like I've never seen something like this happen.
No, I haven't either. It's an insane reaction to an appeal because they, quite frankly, happen all the time. Like Mateus said, like teams will appeal anything because they're just trying to get anything back. If like your best, like I understand it from Portland's perspective in the regard of your best player got suspended, why not try to appeal it? Yeah. Like if they hypothetically, worst they say is no, but in reality, they're banned from appealing things.
Like actually, the worst.
The worst they can say is "fuck you." Actually, that's what it is. Like
it was like the Uno like *4 like card came out. Like
I guess 4. Maybe this is just like making Portland an example of for other NWSL clubs of like whatever like shadowy 100%. Figures are behind this appeal process are like
independent review
giving us
council.
Fucking paperwork to do. Like we don't want to look at your appeals. Like don't fuck with us unless it's an actual fucking appeal kind of thing. Which is still insane. Yeah. But like whatever.
This is the cop behavior that was exhibited more this weekend.
Yep.
And the first instance, I don't know if you watched the Gotham game, within 5 minutes, Daniel Chesky, who, if you guys aren't familiar, is kind of an infamous referee in the NWSL, like where she leads, chaos follows. like within for 5 minutes, Katie Stengels called for a foul, and she and Danielle Chesky are standing not like a foot apart. Chesky blows her whistle,
I
like
did see this.
basically in Stengel's ear, and she just like reacts to it. Like, I mean, it's not even dramatic reaction, and immediately Chesky pulls out a yellow card. So she's like been assaulted in her eardrum and then carded for it.
Yeah, we famously love referees on this show. But you've given me a great segue. Let's talk about Gotham 2 Racing Nil.
Yeah. Ugh, what a beautiful game. The beautiful game. Am I right? Probably the most dominant performance from Gotham this season. Louisville's kind of been like a weird, I guess, bogey team for us. Like, we've only won against them once and have like drawn them like 5 times. But not this case. 62% possession, created a good number of chances. Never felt like we were in danger from like racing. They didn't really have anything coming for us. And we scored some fun goals. It was nice to see Yasmin get on the score sheet. Like, and I said last week, it'd be nice if she could add some goals to her game. But we got to talk about Ella Stevens because that was like the goal. One of the goals of the weekend. It wasn't voted goal of the weekend, but in my heart it was. Really great ball from Mandy Freeman that Ella takes like out of the air, volleys into the corner. Celebration was even better. Hit them with like the calm down. She had been getting kind of into it with racing players and the supporters beforehand, so that was kind of like a nice like fuck you celebration.
How quickly has Ella Stevens become like one of, if not your favorite Gotham player?
It's like a straight shot to the top. This is her 5th goal this season, which I think ties like her most output in her past. I don't know if this is her like 4th or 5th year in the league, but most production in her career. And she's like surprising me all the time with like her levels of like sauce and sass. I was like not expecting the the banter with the supporters, and I was like, oh my god, scandalized a little bit.
It's very fun.
A flash, yeah.
And it's a great win from Gotham. Let's move on now to Spirit 1 Wave 1. What'd you think, Emily?
This is a good game. Spirit were like really hot coming out from the start. Capturing the ball over in their press and getting in great positions. Rodman and Bethune came really close to scoring early on. And then basically right in like against the run of play, the Wave scored off like a really awkward finish from Jaden Shaw. Really nice cross from Maria Sanchez, and then Shaw took it out of the air, but she like tripped over it, but still managed to get it in the goal. It was kind of like Estina Blackstein. Yes, remember when she like whiffed the ball and then she scored? She didn't quite whiff it, but kind of similar vibes. And then I kind of spent the rest of the game just thinking like, okay, well, the Spirit are probably going to score, but I don't know what's going to happen after that. But I was just expecting them to score. And then time kept going. Germa had like a monster game. Dahlkemper also had like a really nice game. So it was kind of like Spirit were playing well, but maybe those two were just too good that night. And then we get to basically last minute of stoppage time. I kind of figured, all right, like this is kind of over. Great win for the Wave. And then Casey Kruger plays the ball over the top. Takes like a very fortunate deflection off of Dahlkemper's head. Croix Bethune takes it with her chested down into her path, lets it bounce, fires it near post, and like Audie Field, which is sold out, was like going batshit crazy. Her celebration too was just like so cool. She's like 19 years old. She's so cool.
She's cool as shit. We're about the halfway point about both the MLS and NWSL season. Is there a serious like hypothetically?
I was gonna ask this question to you.
If Croix Bethune does not play the rest of the season, is she just still a lock for Rookie of the Year?
Oh yeah. Well, this wasn't actually gonna. She's a lock on Rookie of the Year. I was asking, like, what's her chances for MVP? Honestly.
I'm looking at the goals plus assists here. Sophia
Mhm.
Smith has 15, Bethune and Chawinga on 13, and Banda's in fourth at 11. Sophia
And
Smith
she's
gonna get time off for the Olympics. Is Bethune going too?
so we're not playing playing real NWSL games during the
nice.
Olympics. We're playing like that Mexico friendly stuff.
That's right.
So what's great this time around is that players aren't going to be affected by that. Teams aren't going to be affected by that. So this is going to be really interesting. I don't think she's going to unless I think if Spirit win the Shield. Great argument.
The unfortunate thing about MVP awards is it is typically based on how well your team does.
Yeah.
I guess to be fair, the winner last season played for
Caroline.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
for Caroline, and they weren't that great. So hypothetically, you could be on a team and still win MVP. But like, if the Spirit do win the Shield or something, I could see Bethune potentially winning MVP. It's crazy to think about because you're just like, yeah, she's like a kid. Like she should just be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Like we shouldn't be talking about her as MVP. But like it's disrespectful to her to not put her in this conversation at this point, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. It depends on the rest of the season with Bia and Chawinga, but they could split votes. And if they split votes and Portland isn't at the top of the table, I mean,
Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she has depending on where people play out, but I think she'll be on the short list.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Which
sure.
in itself would be an accomplishment. And tremendous achievement and full hey, this is truly the star of the league on the rise, which is it's very cool to watch. It was a great goal from her to draw this game. And let's move on now to current 2 Red Stars 2. What do you think, Emily?
Well, very surprising result. Probably for both teams. And surprising, Chicago is the one who started off firing Mal Swanson. This was another goal that I just can't wrap my head around. If you see it, the angle was kind of nearly impossible. It slid in between, millimeters away from AD Franch, touching it and probably deflecting it wide of goal. Flew perfectly under her armpit.
Yeah.
Into the goal. And when you watch it, it is kind of really kind of mind bending when you see it live. But really great goal. And then basically immediately Red Stars are under fire, just getting peppered and just kind of trying not to concede. And they did a good job for the first half. And I was wondering, wow, maybe could the Red Stars be the ones to take down the Current? And pretty quickly into the second half, the answer is no, they're not the ones. They're not the ones that are going to do that. It was kind of an unfortunate goal from Alyssa Nair's perspective. She went out on a corner kick to punch it away, didn't get anything on it, and they were able to score on that. Bia was. So not good for her when Emma Hayes is looking on. Second goal, Chawinga gets it, and she had she was probably owed one all game. She had 8 shots herself, 4 on target, so she definitely had done pretty much everything else but score. That seemed like that was gonna be it until the 89th minute. Red Stars win a corner and Sam Staub wins the header to score, and it's a big point for the Red Stars. Trying to stay in those bottom playoff positions, and especially last week, I think they were very disappointed not to get a result at Wrigley. So
I'm kind of shocked they're as high in the table as they are. They have negative goal differential. I guess North Carolina does as well. But playoff spot still over the Wave?
Yeah. The Wave, well, we just talked about them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a third year slump. I think we're seeing a lot of separation now from the top 5 teams to the rest. There's a pretty good point margin. So I think you're seeing elite to not elite.
Not elite.
Elite.
Not doing it.
Well, speaking of 2 not elite teams, the 2 expansion teams played this week, and Bay lost to Utah. Utah won a game. That is unbelievable.
Kind of. I don't know what to say of this game other than it pissed me off how poor Bay played. Like, this is such a chance for them to be like, we are the superior expansion team. Like, we went out and we got star players, you know, we really invested in this squad. And they just did not finish their chances. Like, they did create a good number of opportunities in the first half. Kuninaji and Oshwala both had, like, basically sitters that they missed. And then there was, like, a lot of great goalkeeping from Andy Hott, and blocks in front of goal. So I guess, like, unfortunate, just, like, misfortunate, I don't know. But still pissed me off. Like, after that, there wasn't really anything in the tank for them. They took Oshwala off in, like, the 65th minute, which didn't make any sense to me. I was just like, what are you doing? Jenny Castellanos, come on. She's not really done anything. She's kind of been a disappointing player that they've, you know, signed kind of as a big player from City. So it's very disappointing not to build on, like, the momentum from winning at Wrigley last week, because I do think they played really well there. So playing this game at home against Utah, who's not been good at all, like, very disappointing. Especially, you know, this is another, like, last minute winner. Keita Fava has no business winning a header when she's standing next to Kayla Sharples in the box. I know a certain center back on the bench, Jen Beattie, who would have maybe won that header. But
my forever favorite Jen Beattie moment will be the goal against Wolfsburg, and then her just fucking trucking a Wolfsburg player.
She pop.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I love Jen Beattie.
So yeah, kind of a shit performance from Bay when they're at home. Could have, you know, grabbed 3 points that were very needed, but
yep,
good win for Utah.
Disappointing for them. Good for Utah to get, like, is it their second win?
Second win.
Yeah. Well, another one on the board for them, so that's great. That's all for NWSL this week. Let's move on to MLS. We're going to start out with a wild game that happened before the weekend. Crew 3, NYCFC 2. What'd you think, Mateus?
Friday night in the Bronx at the baseball stadium, but this is a must-watch because these are two teams that actually, or the Columbus Crew come out and play, right? They're going to come out and play. They're not going to sit back and defend. So it wasn't going to be a boring game at, you know, on the 70% pitch, the 7-on-7 pitch in the Bronx. And
they should actually play all the games 7-on-7 there.
Yeah, I mean, they really should. But, like, it was fun for that reason. Like, it basically was just like a futsal match. NYCFC go down a man in the 28th minute, I think, or 38th minute, something like that, on a dog. So Chris Ramirez gets pulled down by Ilya Nich. And then right after halftime, they get 2 quick goals with Ramirez and Farsi tapping in. I totally just missed the NYCFC goal before halftime. My bad, y'all. Ojeda scored a nice goal before halftime when they were already down 10 men. So down a man, but up a goal into halftime, and you're thinking, Crew are going to come out and chase this one. They do. They tap in 2 goals really quickly. Mo Farsi on the scene for both of them. Although Ramirez scored the first one. Mo Farsi, who's going to have a good game on this. He's a futsal player, futsal background. Is going to be good in tight spaces, and he was all game. But NYCFC, despite being down a man, despite my thoughts that Nick Cushing is a terrible coach with terrible vibes, played really hard. Like, really, really ran their fucking asses off up and down the pitch. Despite that, they give up a PK. Hannes Wolf shoves Mo Farsi again in the back. Cucho scores a banger to make it 3-1. But still running up and down the pitch. They bring in Christian McFarlane on, a young kid who almost has an assist immediately. He's an England international, actually. And they finally get one when Santi Rodriguez gets a go route, just like running straight up the field, holds himself onside, goes around Patrick Schulte, really nice finish. And then they're still pushing towards the end despite being down to 10 men. It went to like 104 minutes because of like a weather delay after halftime. But they couldn't get it done. Crew like survive, I would say. They had more XG. They had a lot of shots. Matt Freese had a really good performance in goal despite giving up 3 goals. But it was really spirited from NYCFC, and I think you even saw the players after the game. Like, a lot of them were like, all right, we were down a man, but that's the defending champs. Let's clap ourselves off the pitch a little bit. Like, that wasn't so bad. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those, but I think after how they've been good for the past a couple months or so, but the really started the season, NYCFC played really badly. And I think to take 10 men to the crew like that and really have a few chances to go up felt pretty good for them. So
yep. Nice moral win from the baseball merchants. Let's move on now to Rapids 2, Austin 0. Finally back to winning ways, and it was on my birthday, so that was great. They didn't ruin my birthday by losing. I made my family watch the Rapids. It was great. It was a great time. Cole Bassett scored a fucking screamer to start scoring in this game. It was a great fucking goal. And then Rafa Navajo scored the second goal of this game. And we're now at the point, like, Rafa Navajo has 10 goals for the Rapids this season, which is not an insignificant amount of goals, and this is exactly what we need out of a number 9. I don't care how many of those were penalties. That's exactly what we need out of number 9. Actually, at this point, I think only 4, maybe 5 of them are penalties. I think
only half.
Only half.
Okay. I'm fully at the point where it's just pay the money, pay whatever Palermo wants, whatever we've agreed for the option. I know Bogert reported that we're at least we're attempting to kind of negotiate, but we're gonna make it permanent, which is the obvious choice. I mean, this is a striker that's now scored 10 goals for the team. You can't afford to he's got to go back to Brazil for a month while we negotiate a lower price. You can't afford to do that. We can't be starting Darren Yappy in games because Navajo is back at Brazil.
A little bit inside baseball here. The GM for Palmeiras is a very shrewd lady who is not going to let him go for anything other than that option. Just letting you know.
And Porak Smith is also very shrewd, so it's going to be a fight to the death. So we'll see what happens with that, but I fully expected it to be made permanent, and I'm very excited for that. I think he's been phenomenal for us. This is his best goals and assist season of his career outside of Serie B. So that's a really good sign. His first time in a top division scoring 10 goals. He's been the guy, and that's exactly what the Rapids need from a DP. It's what we're paying him for. And it was a great win from the Rapids. This is a team that was in Austin that was ahead of us in the table. They were wearing their super stylish kits, and we got it done. We got a nice 2-0 win at home. 17,000 people were showing up. People were there for the Rapids. It's awesome.
Can I get a Kevin Cabral rating?
Forgot he was playing.
What about little back heel though? The little back heel he did.
I guess he was kind of involved with the Navajo goal, a little back heel. I forgot about that.
You also have to mention that Cole Bassett hit the Cole Palmer.
Well, his name is also Cole, and I think he may have been doing it for longer. I don't check me on that, but
you're starting rumors.
I am starting rumors. I don't think that's true. I think that Cole is doing a different celebration now I'm thinking about it. But
the actually good Cole is Cole Bassett. People should know.
That is correct, yeah. 100%. Cole Bassett is better than Cole Palmer. On Kevin Cabral, I think a forgettable performance is honestly better than the slop he has been giving me, which is infuriating performance. So, performance where you're so bad I have to yell at you is where he's been at. And performance where I forgot he's playing is actually an upgrade, which is really sad to say about someone who makes $1 million a year. I can't wait for the Rapids to upgrade on him. But great win from the Rapids. Let's move on now to Cincinnati 4, San Jose 2. What did you think, Emily?
Yeah, funny game. All of the action actually happened in the second half. And you'd say that San Jose probably played better for long stretches of the second half. had themselves in a position where they're 2-1 up in like the 77th minute. And at that point, you're probably like, okay, like, how are we going to manage, the rest of the game against like one of the best teams in the league? And you probably don't think that you're going to manage that by like still sending like 9 players into the opposition half when there's only 12 minutes to play, which is what happened when they were caught out on the break by a single pass from Acosta, which Kubo went one-on-one with one defender, scores. That basically, that's the equalizer. A couple minutes later, Dam breaks, and it's 3-2. Another Kubo goal, another assist from Acosta. It ends 4-2 with Kubo hat trick in 10 minutes. He was a second half substitute.
Quickest hat trick in 20 years.
That's crazy. And a hat trick of assists from Acosta. So friends, when you're up, when you're ahead, try to stay ahead.
Don't be the San Jose Earthquakes is the moral of the story today.
I paused my computer and I was like, how is there one guy back there in the other half when they scored that goal? I was like, how is this how they are?
Mateus, what do you think about their usage of Kubo? Because I feel like he's been an interesting player. Like where I've seen him as a midfielder a lot, and then he came on as a striker. Am I correct in saying that? And scored a hat trick. Like, is he their Brandon Vasquez replacement?
He's not the Brandon Vasquez replacement, right? That's Kelsey, who they brought in from the Ukraine. But Kubo's a guy they just trust to be anywhere, right? He can play deep lying forward. He can play, I think his natural position you'd say would be like a deep lying midfielder. But like he's played wing back a lot for them as well. He's just a guy they trust. He's physical. He's strong. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's going to make his presence known. He's just like a savvy vet. And I think he's the glue guy, I guess. I'm not going to call him the Shaq Moore. That's fucked up. But like he's a guy that can be leaned on to fill in gaps, and he knows what positions to fill, and we'll get out there and just like do a job, right? And if that means playing deep lying forward for FC Cincinnati, he's going to go out and do it.
From what I've seen from Cincinnati fans, is they just fucking love that guy. Like he's a fan favorite, like a guy that everyone loves. He's playing everywhere. He's coming in as a striker in the second half, scoring a hat trick. Like, how can you not love a player like that? I don't blame him.
And he's been there.
His hair.
Yeah, he's been there since their first season, I believe. And has always had that haircut. So
that'll also bring you a lot of love from the faithful of being there for the entire time of their existence in MLS. Let's move on now to Dallas 2, St. Louis 0. What do you think, Mateus? A big win from Dallas.
A big win from Dallas, and that's why I went back and watched this game, because like 2-0, right? They just fired Nico Estevez. This is their first game with their new coach. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm forgetting his name right now. So apologies to the new coach.
Sorry to that man.
Sorry to that man. Peter Luchin. I think I said that right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Peter Luchin.
We all know him.
A household name. Yeah. Household name, surely. But going like 2-0. Oh, let's see what they did here. It wasn't that great. The starting 11 stayed unchanged, other than the inclusion of Nikosai Tafare, who was one of the best center backs in MLS last year. And Nico Estevez was just wrong for taking him out the team. Like, it made no fucking sense, to be honest with you. But Tafare back in, I think it was important. The team all looked a lot more motivated. Farah goes up, takes a PK at the 28th minute. It was a very weak PK. It was a shoulder to shoulder with Nielsen and Paul Areola. Paul Areola's in on goal. It was definitely shoulder to shoulder, and the PK was given and not reversed on VAR. I didn't like that decision, but Farah smashes it home, and then they decide to just bunker. And they bunkered the whole rest of the game. But at the same point, like, St. Louis City is not a team who's like been super creative in tight spaces. I think they've had 1 or 2 games where I've shouted them out for being better about that. But they're relying a lot on Edward Lowen, who was out for a long time and who's also playing from a deeper position. And also Celio Pompeo got hurt pretty early in this game. I think he's out for the season as well, so they're gonna have to find a new replacement there to have a creative spark in tight spaces. But they were just pumping crosses in from deep, from the half space, from wherever. Basically, it was Lowen crossing it in, aiming for Jean Klaus, and hoping for a header into the net. And it wasn't really happening for them. I will say Paz kind of stood on his head a little bit throughout the game. Indonesian international, by the way. There was not a whole lot going on. FC Dallas had a goal from open play that was called back. Logan Farrington, who I believe is an academy player, received from Pierre Moussa on like a really tight turn and put it in. It was called back for offsides. But other than that, it was all shots from outside the box until Tafari puts a second one in when he's just like totally unmarked. Indiana Vasilev lets him roam free on a corner. He comes around and puts an open header in the back of the net around the 88th minute. But they, at this point of the game, like St. Louis City was just like tired from like pumping balls in and like not really getting anything super solid on that. Paz was standing on his head, getting everything out. And I think the frustration just kind of built up and just tired legs. And then the second goal goes in, they just kind of shut down. So credit to Dallas to grinding out a win. It was really grinding it out. Nothing sexy about it. No intricate play. I think they had like one shot, right? The Ferrer PK, I think, was their only shot inside the box that I remember, other than the corner. So I'm not expecting anything sexy from Dallas anytime soon, but a win is a win is a win. Ferreira is goal scoring form again, I guess. It's one for the books. And they can hopefully start to grind stuff out going forward.
You mentioned Paz, the goalkeeper, and I was talking to Ryan Fergert, who he works social media for FC Dallas. He said that he's been the most like interesting thing about the team this year because it's been a tough year. Because of like his switch to becoming an Indonesia international, it's been very cool. Like FC Dallas is kind of welcomed into like a whole nother group of fans, international fans, which is very cool. And like it's always fun to see like small storylines like that through a team that's like having a tough year. So hopefully it's a good sign of good things for Dallas, but obviously you're not convinced by the performance. Let's move on now to Orlando 1, LAFC 3. And God, I'm just so confused by Orlando. I just don't understand if they're good or not. Facundo Torres missed a penalty. It's been a tough season for him. And then like Luis Muriel had a great assist for their one goal. But LAFC is just so lethal on the counter, which makes me understand their personnel decisions so little because I don't understand why you're a counter-attacking team signing Olivier Giroud, who, by the way, their starting striker in this game was Kai Kamara. So they are about to have the oldest fucking striker room of all time. Like, Kai Kamara is like 38, 39.
That's a great
Giroud's
point.
like 35. Like,
Giroud's
they are about to have such an old group of strikers for a team that wants to play on the counter. And I truly don't understand that. But you have Denny Bouanga, who can go crazy on the counter, and Bogusz, who can go crazy on the counter. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll work having slow guys who can finish as your number nines.
That trailing run, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. The late run into the box it's going to be key for Steve Cherundolo's team. They have kind of flown up the table. Like I think they're in second now behind RSL, which like kind of took me by surprise because I feel like it's been kind of a tepid year for LAFC. Like they've been good, but not great. Like the spotlight's been more on LA Galaxy, who have been very, very exciting.
It was tepid until Bouanga started scoring.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is their best player started playing their best player again, and now they're looking like a good team. It'll be interesting to see how Giroud fits into that roster and stuff like that because I do feel like they just are so good on the counter, and I think that like another fast striker would have been beneficial for them. But it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But a good win from them, tough one for Orlando. And let's move on to our last game that we're covering this week, which is Philly 1, Miami 2. A 9-men Inter Miami. Sorry, did I say Philly 2? Philly 1, Miami 2.
Yeah. No, Philly takes the L on this one pretty badly. Starting off this game, both rosters severely depleted. Philly missing Andre Blake. They're missing Jack Elliott due to suspension, and all their other center backs apparently. So Nathan Harriel, a natural fullback, playing left center back all of a sudden. Missing Gazdag for the Euros. Missing Carranza, who is now gone to Feyenoord, I think for a $4 or $5, maybe $6 million fee. So they're missing a hell of a lot of players. Severely rotated squad. Inter Miami is obviously missing Lionel Messi.
Who?
Never heard of him.
I saw they were missing like a Suarez. Is he good?
I want to say, well, he's retired from international competition.
Wait,
No,
really?
excuse
he's
me.
with the Uruguay squad.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Oh my
Cavani retired. My bad. Cavani retired. So yeah, Suarez out, Messi out. They're starting Campana up front, Gressel again. But anyways, a lot of rotation, a lot of missing pieces for both teams, and that played into the trail end of the game. Anyway, first goal comes really early. Michelura, I guess they didn't read the scouting report because I know Inter Miami wants to play with a high line. They will do that. They stuck to their guns in that regard. But Michelura is Philly's only real striker left, and the only thing he can do is run in behind and maybe finish sometimes on occasion, which is exactly what they let him do in the second minute of this game. Is just walk in behind Sergei Kristoff and put in a nice finish around Calendar. And it almost happens again with Quinn Sullivan like 10 minutes later. So a really shaky start for Inter Miami. But yeah, like it turned out to be like a quiet first half after the initial goal, and like sort of adjustments from Miami to like then not get beat in behind that badly. But early in the second half, Gressel smashes one in from around the penalty spot, just drifts across the goal after, or I think it was cut back from like the Man City zone into Gressel, who like has like a half volley. Except I noticed that there was not a single Philly defender on his side of the field. I don't know if it's just like the heavy legs, halftime switching off, but there's like 4 Philly attackers or like four Philly players like by the halfway line, while like in Miami are like a slow buildup of possession around their 18-yard box. So I don't know if they just switched off. I don't know if it was the heavy legs cutting, like starting to take effect already, but that wasn't really a pretty sight if I was Jim Curtin. And it didn't really get much better. They were saved a little bit by David Ruiz getting the first red card of the match, 68th minute, for stopping counter. Just kind of stuck his leg out after he took a bad touch and took down Leon Flack. But yeah, this Philly team started to look a little bit gassed. Like they're obviously a man up, so they're starting to apply a little bit more pressure, like hold the ball a little bit more, stay in the Inter Miami side of the field, but not like looking pretty gassed. And there's not a lot of options off the bench. Human Victory Cigar Talbaribo came on the field, who's played like 10 minutes all season. And so that's when you know like the bench is getting kind of skimpy, and he actually had a really good chance that he almost put away past Calendar. But I think it was the 88th minute. Inter Miami get their second yellow card or second red card. Thomas Aviles pokes the ball away, Sophia Smith style. For
When will they learn?
wasting. They won't. It was on a throw in too. It was like totally gonna like 5 seconds. Like congratulations. But the ref's like staring straight at him. Pulls out the second yellow. Inter Miami down to 9 men. But just hustling way harder on broken balls, on broken passes of play than Philly. And 94th minute, they get a 3-on-1 break against Glesnes. Basically, it was Leo Alfonso. I think Kermaski was following up on the other side, one other player. But Leo Alfonso just, I think he's a midfielder, just takes it around Glesnes, puts it past Shemla near post. Just like out hustling. Like no one from Philadelphia was getting back whatsoever to go and retreat on the counter. And it was really a simple finish. Like Glesnes is not a super mobile center back or one that's, he's capable of being turned. And puts it away. He takes off the jersey, does the Messi celebration in Subaru Park. And Miami hold off in stoppage time to take the 3 points away, despite being down 2 men at the end. After the game, Philly looking pretty fucking frustrated. I think not just because of the result, but because of the Carranza sale, because of the continued underinvestment in this club. And them losing this game in large part because the bench is really thin. So Kai Wagner was complaining post game. Jim Curtin was like, Kai knows it's not going to help, but also please don't sell our best players all the time.
Yeah, or like at least reinvest the best players' fees back into the club, that kind of thing. I guess I get that's hard
There's
to do
still
in
time
MLS,
this
but
summer.
yeah. But I honestly, fair reason for Philly to be like upset about it, because it's a pretty embarrassing result to lose to a 9-man team, and a 9-man team that Inter Miami without all the like Barca boys are a pretty bad team. I guess they had Busquets and Alba, but like they're a pretty bad team with like an average team without like Messi and Suarez and all of them. But tough result for Philly. But that's all for us this week. Talk to you guys next week about American soccer and stuff. I'm botching the ending of the show. Goodbye.
Peace.
Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.